interviewed Joe from Idols the other day. They were here just on Wednesday.
Is he the singer?
He's a singer.
He's a singer, yeah.
He's a singer. And oops, my mic is already up.
Do you want this?
Yeah, let me get that guy.
He's hurt.
Check. There we go. That's better. I forgot my headphones when I did it. I went over there to the interview and plugged in everything and sat down and was like, oh no.
No headphones.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Did he have headphones?
Of course,
No,
I mean,
no.
everybody has AirPods now, right?
Yeah.
So like, I didn't want to run around the venue and be like, hey, I'm the guy that's been fucking bothering y'all. And I forgot the one thing that you would need to record sound. And anyway,
I'm a professional.
I know. I've been doing this for a
promise
while.
I am, yeah.
But anyway, I didn't do that this time. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
I love you guys.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I think I blew your mind right now in telling you that the last time we spoke or did this was 2016, which there's been, oh my God, so much happened just in the world. Personally, even, like I know your life has changed a lot. My life has changed a lot.
All of our lives, yeah.
So-
Not yours.
Not yours. No, actually, I'm the same.
You
Look the same.
are the loudest person in the world. Let me turn you
have
down
the-
for a second.
Have the
You
same
are the
wardrobe.
loudest person in the world.
I know.
That hasn't
Julian.
changed either. Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to start it off by thanking you for hanging out with us then, and I would like to start this off with, I'm gonna pull back the curtain a little bit and reveal something to you that maybe is a little corny and that we've absolutely talked about with all of our friends and even been high and been like, so what we call this is, and I'm gonna tell you we call it a utopia moment, and you might even be able to trace back the origin of where I'm going. But you guys played Utopia Fest in 2015, maybe 2016, which is in Texas.
Yeah.
2014.
Was it 2014?
It was 2014.
And goodness, we went and we were just getting this started. We were just kind of, I think, figuring out that this is something that not only we wanted to do, but that we felt like we could do. And at the time, we were still, I'm obviously such a big fan of your music, but I was a diehard, and you probably even remember, I was a diehard. I was I'm their biggest fan. Could tell everybody that. And you guys came, went to this festival, and you were going to go with the person that we no longer talk to, so he doesn't need to be named, but you went to this festival to see with him, and he had a press pass.
Yes.
You did not have a press pass. We had never been credentialed to a festival before. Didn't know that was something you could do. I wasn't even supposed to go, and I was a tag along. Hey, you want to go? Fuck yeah, Warpaint's going. Let's fucking go. I want to see Warpaint play. Absolutely. Stayed in the tent, broke as hell, and I remember we took his press. We might have been on some substances. We took his press pass. I remember it was a situation where I was like, give me your press pass. And he's like, okay, sure. Long story short, this is the first time that I met you, was backstage with a press pass and being like, hi, I'm a big fan. I have a podcast. You guys are playing in Dallas in a couple of months or something. I would love to podcast with you guys. And you were like, okay, sure.
You're just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah,
And
whatever.
I was like, what the fuck? It was the first big get for us where we were like, oh my God. I mean, yeah, it was mad. I mean, considering how big of a fan. Yeah.
It's massive also because we started the podcast to talk to the people we admired the most. And I think from the get-go, Warpaint was always on that list, among others. But
we're already doing it. We already got him.
And we're huge goal.
And
sign.
That night we ended up hanging out with you guys. You were like, I think we went and saw Dan Deacon, or someone was playing. I think it was Dan Deacon.
Dan Deacon and the sunglasses, or the glasses. Oh, that was later. Sorry. This guy had glasses that was with us in that party.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
He had these heart glasses that we ended up ripping off when we did
Oh.
our 15-year anniversary show.
So
I
remember Cold War Kids, I think, were also playing.
They were there.
And anyway,
on the same stage. They came on after you guys.
yeah,
on
we were
stage.
side stage. And I remember just standing there and looking around and being like, I can't believe this is happening. I got an interview. I'm here with these people that I love. I love their music. I'm watching this band. It was just this moment that we've since referred to as a utopia moment, where it's that combination of, fuck it, let's try to do this. Let's approach this person, try to get an interview. What's the worst that could happen? And that kept happening. There was years after that where we'd look at each other and I'd be like, I think this is a utopia moment. We need to go do this. And
It's cute.
yeah, and it was a big deal. So this is a long story to tell, but I wanted to start this off by just kind of really sharing with you how important that was for us and how it has ultimately shaped the way that I do everything. Like where I approach I'm like, just fucking let's go. What's the worst that's going to happen? Mm-hmm. And now this is something that I get paid to do now, like podcasts, and like this is my living, and it's really cool, man. So thank you for doing that. Yeah,
That's an awesome story. I always thought I met you guys before then, but I guess in the timeline of understanding when Utopia was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and then I later we saw y'all at Desert Days, and I had just got an appendectomy, and I thought I was going to have to get airlifted. That's a whole story in itself.
Oh God, yeah.
Crazy times.
What's an app?
When you have appendicitis, you have to get your appendix taken
Desert
out.
Days?
At Desert Days.
No, he had gotten surgery.
I just gotten
Just had
surgery.
surgery.
And I was like, can I go to something? And they're like, just be careful. And I was like,
All right, we'll go to the desert.
So we ended up having to have a Utopia moment and like talk to the security guard and be like, hey, we have an interview confirmed. We just got to get back there real quick. And just like get into the artist area because it was like, you might remember, it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was like green and there was a pool and a lake.
They've since moved, but it was
They've
like a little
moved.
oasis.
Was it
there.
Mecca?
Yeah.
It was
At
Mecca.
Mecca?
That's
Yeah,
what
it was
yeah.
fucking crazy.
That's what it
And
was.
That was when New Song was born.
don't take a question.
Sorry.
You
Go back 15
we were
questions.
there.
Go back.
We were there for that. We were there
Yeah.
for that, watching that jam happen, and it was like,
Yeah.
and then a couple, I think maybe a year later, that song came out. We were like,
Right.
wait a minute.
I think I even like asked on like one of your Instagram posts. I was like, "Hey, did you make up this song on Desert Days?" You're like, "Yep." I was like, "Cool."
It was funny because when it happened in that moment, everybody afterwards was like, "What was that song?"
Yeah, you're like, "All right,
Well, it was
let's make it one."
it was an intro to a new song we were playing.
It was a new song.
It was a new song.
Yeah. So time. Oh my God, time has passed, and so many things have happened, and I really think there's like the theme of this interview for me is probably going to be time. So I want to give you the opportunity to maybe tell me how
does time work?
So what is time?
Okay, I am the right person to answer this question.
But
I did just watch Harry Potter 2 days
Oh,
ago.
there you go.
Which,
Well,
like,
you're a pro now.
all of
the
them?
Alfonso Cuarón one where they turned back the time.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Ooh,
that's a good one.
That's
the
the
third one.
best.
That's a good
Prisoner
one.
of Azkaban.
Yes,
Prisoner of
that's a
Azkaban.
good one where Hermione has the. I remember I watched that recently. And I was like, "What's gonna happen?" And then
Yeah.
like it's her. You know, she's
Right.
popping up around the. Is that the
Yeah.
one where it's her? Like they see something.
Yeah, she has the
and
little
it's her in the
hourglass
woods.
necklace.
Right.
Yes.
And then she's
Okay.
turning, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's also, I don't know, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Prisoner of Azkaban, but then it's actually Harry's Patronus, which is the stag, and he thinks it's his dad.
Yeah.
Oh my
The
goodness.
Dementors
That's
are
right.
getting him in Sirius Black, and they're about to die.
And then Gary Oldman's in that one.
He's in most of them, right?
Yeah, that's the
He's
first.
so
he is the
intense.
prisoner of
He's
Azkaban.
so good.
Yeah.
Too bad. Oh, too bad we don't talk about J.K. Rowling anymore.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I'll talk
still
about her.
do
Let's go.
I'm happy to do it. But yes, it is. I want to give you the opportunity. I mean, like, I haven't spoken to you in a while. I feel like this band has evolved. Where do you feel like you guys are at right now in the story of Warpaint? You know, I know that's a big kind of weird question, but what?
Yeah, it's a zoom out.
Right.
I mean, it's having this be the 20-year anniversary theme is definitely reflective, and we don't tour as much as we used to, and we don't even live in the same places, and we don't go to band practice anymore, and we don't get together and write. It's all really changed since I guess 2019 is when everything kind of shifted. I mean, I was pregnant, so I'm not even just speaking on COVID, but I think that we've all been able to go off and mature individually, which has made us better at returning to each other. I think we're playing better than ever in a way. I mean, I know we're playing better than ever because of that. There's just something, everybody seems more embodied in who they are. And because there is something about, growing together over decades and becoming this of just of connection, but the separateness brought some kind of maturity, I guess, and coming back together, we are all more, I don't know, the spirit and the spirits are higher, and everybody's really just happy to be here, but also it has a bittersweetness to maybe just being like the end for a minute, at least for a little while.
Okay.
Like, there's no plan to make a record right now. I think there's just a plan for everybody to just go expand
Sure.
a little bit and kind of fill the individual wells. And then we definitely want to make another record. It's just...
It's not in the cards, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a process, I think, that needs to happen first.
I think that's really fair. Shocker, me and Julian don't live together anymore, but I can relate in the sense that everything that we have done, really even up until this point, has been together. And there is a beauty in being able to go, hey man, I'm going to go do this thing. I need to create on my own.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I not to equate to
we're
the
just
records
like
that you made, but
I mean, it is really rare that people, the friendships like you guys have.
oh, that's
you know,
nice.
where you do something, where you develop together and you do something creative together and you're best friends and you share everything. I mean, it reminds me of me and T starting that journey when we were 11.
Yeah.
And how we do have to untangle to allow different parts of ourselves to grow, or otherwise you can get into kind of a feedback loop.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Do you find that now that you go, especially with this tour, you're like quite literally replaying, your first, this is like your biggest, you're reliving these songs that I imagine had such a huge context or meaning to you at the time. And I want to know if there's any new context when you replay these songs that maybe hits your brain when you're like, well, this feels different now. This means something different now.
Yeah.
You hear a lot, artists will say, hey, when people start singing my songs back, it's not mine anymore. And I don't know if that at all plays into this question, but I don't know if ownership is an aspect of this. But yes, ultimately, do you find any sort of alt meanings to these pieces that you've created now that all of these things have happened?
Yeah, the first time we were rehearsing the EP, and we played through it, it was really kind of emotional for us, and especially because the EP was written over 4 years. So just remembering just the tinkering and writing and the slow process and where we were as instrumentalists and musicians and the slow going nature of it, and also the way that EP kind of unfolds as we play it. It's so different than the rest of our set. It's got a weight. And I think it's something that I don't know, it's like a return. Yeah, it's a return to center. And also I think I can sing all those songs better now. There's things where I'm like, oh shit, I couldn't hit this on the EP.
I got this now. Yeah,
sure. Man.
That's so funny. Do you think of, and also, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's the one recording that also features, other members, like other people that were parts of this band.
Stella's not even on
right,
it.
Yeah. So, how does that come into play? Do you think about, creating with those other people? I mean, because some of those people, like Klinghoffer, for instance, has gone on to be in like the fucking Red Hot Chili Peppers. And
Totally.
Shannon.
Yeah, for sure. There's something about, actually, the main moment I had with that kind of feeling was when I was just listening to the EP before the rehearsals, and I just was amazed at how cool Shannon's beats are.
Oh my God.
And the way she kind of punk rock dances them out of her body, and because she isn't just able to just play the drums and just go back then, she really crafted really interesting beats. There's something about the novice and the limitations in her drumming that make her so interesting.
Right. And then you get Stella, who enters the picture and introduces like this groove.
Yeah.
Like this complete groove that I feel in a lot of ways rounded out the sound. So it must be really cool. How is that for? I mean, I'd love to. How is that for Stella? Yeah, I mean, like, how is that?
I mean, I was actually thinking that the other day because we were like, let's do the EP, and she's like, sure. And then I was like,
oh yeah,
I wonder. But she's down. I mean, I think that it's also part of the story of 20 years, and it's also she's made them her own, and she's made everything. She's made everything her own.
She's played those songs more than anyone else has.
At this point, absolutely.
So she knows when to back around.
Well, also, Teresa wrote the Beatles beat and
that's right.
the Crimson beat. So that's cool too.
Yeah.
And that would have been pretty cool. I guess we've done that before where Stella played the guitar and T would do Set Your Arms Down. We would switch.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
If it wasn't
I
so
remember that.
technically challenging with in-ears and everything nowadays, I mean, even tonight there's a bass change and a guitar change and there's just a bunch of changes, and they take time and they can be a little boring.
Wow.
In your show. But yeah, drum switching would be pretty cool, and it would be pretty nice to hear T do her beats too.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I love the genesis of like the drumming and Warpaint. But
Yeah.
it just listening to your recent stuff too, like it makes me reappreciate Stella in general, because she always, like, from the beginning, I really loved her drumming, just like how she is like raw in any songs, but like on some of the more kind of like electronic style stuff, she's still able to work in some kind of like distinguishing element to her drums that like I've never heard before. Like it'll still be kind of electronic beat, but you'll still hear her throw in her ride cymbal, and it's like very her. And I don't know. I guess I'm just taking a moment to appreciate Stella.
Yeah.
She's not here, but I was like, we love your drumming. But yeah,
I mean, it's amazing, and she is truly one of a kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think she's got she's unique.
Yeah.
She's really
one of the
great.
greats.
She's been busy.
Yeah, she has
She
been.
has been
She's been
busy.
real busy.
She's not just busy being a drummer anymore either.
Yeah.
She's so good at production. And
I would like to know, now that you've kind of revealed to me that, that there's not another record on the horizon. So what are you going to be doing? What are you planning to be up to? I mean, obviously I know you're a mother now, and that probably is very demanding. But
Probably,
I imagine.
Yeah,
I got no idea. I got cats. It's probably something like that, right? I got a couple cats.
I'm basically still a kid. I don't know.
That's how I feel. I'm like, I shouldn't be having babies over here.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, is there any other, like, can you give me any sort of details of projects or music that you might want to work on? Yeah.
I mean, I did some solo stuff on the Buccaneers soundtrack that Stella was working on for that Apple TV show that she did an original soundtrack of all American female artists. I don't know if you've heard it, but yeah, so I did 2 songs in the theme song. I did an LCD sound system cover.
What?
So that kind of got me going in this, just working at home. And I live in Eugene, Oregon now, which is where T and I are from.
Yeah.
And so just, opening after having my daughter's Frances, after having her, like, the day lockdown started in LA. So we had been making Radiate for months, and then I was going to stop for, a minute to have a baby. And then she was born the day lockdown started. And so almost all the basic tracks were finished, but the vocals weren't finished, and a lot of me and Teresa's parts weren't done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was what COVID was basically for me, was like watching YouTube tutorials on using DAWs and different plugins and things that I just had never really. I had done GarageBand and I had used my 4-track, but I had never tried to record legit vocals for a record, and I did Ableton. I started using Ableton and stuff. So, and I had a baby and I was like not slept, and so it was a really intense process. But in retrospect, it was really good for me, because now I'm able to at least demo, if not make songs myself, and be able to kind of, I'm very controlling by nature, and especially in the music department, a lot of times in the studio I would feel very impotent to be able to do what I wanted. And so there's something about that.
The autonomy that you can,
right, because you want to call the shots, but you're like, I wish I could just do it myself.
Yeah,
goodness. I mean, shit, that's how I've learned everything. Literally, how we got our jobs is just like, oh, well, we did 5 years of podcasting, and that means I know how to edit and market and do that. And all of a sudden, you realize that, like, you'd rather just do it yourself. I mean, I know DIY, obviously DIY for life, but it really is just like not only out of necessity, but then at a certain point, I'm like, wait, this is just better.
Well, it's also your style. Like, your style comes from the ground up. Even if it sounds like shit and there's hiss in my vocal, or there's a cat meowing in the room, or something happens. That happens. Yep. And it adds character. It's not for everyone, but I made demos in 2008. I made all these really lo-fi demos that were just through a Rode Podcaster microphone, USB mic, and GarageBand, and I loved making them. The way that I would make it was I did a vocal guitar take, and then I would put it through like Texas blues amp. I'd put the vocal guitar take through like 4 different amps and then like pan them differently. And because of my limitations, I thought it sounded cool. It's not high def, and it's not at this certain level, but it has a vibe and it has a feeling in the air that captures what I'm going for.
Yeah.
And so in that respect, I'm really into doing production, but not because I'm good at it, just because I think at least I capture something that I can say, oh, that's what I was kind of going for. And a lot of times in the recording or like taking a demo and trying, why people get demoitis, it's like you take it and you start to try to make it into something else, and it can stop being your baby.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to kind of find that world, and I think all of us are doing that in our own ways, but I've never made solo records or anything, so I'm kind of in that cliche moment of just needing to not ask of anybody to be in control. I'm not going to ask anybody to acquiesce to like my vision.
Sure.
I'm just going to go ahead and go for it, and hopefully they'll all play on it. But explore that, and also so I could just stay home more with her because she's so little.
I can't wait to hear what that sounds like.
Exactly.
And really, you've kind of already kind of talked about it, but considering everything you've just said, when you guys were releasing this record, I know that obviously like COVID played into it. I've read that there was honing that, went into
Right.
that, but is that kind of a big part of that process is you learning as this record is being finished and, maybe in turn changing what you want out of the album? Like,
You mean with the Radiate?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so much, maybe sometimes it was too much tinkering or it was too much of this or that. Or, I did so many stacks of vocals because I was really limited in how I could color the song from where it already was. Or
color the song. I love that. Color. I can see that. I love that. Yeah,
Warpaint.
yeah.
In France, actually, in France, Warpaint means like explosion of color. Warpaint, direct translation, it doesn't mean the same thing to the Parisian
see,
or
yeah.
to Parisian.
Did you know that when y'all started the
when
record?
I went to Paris, is mainly they were like, we were doing press, and they all said, we love this like explosion of color meaning of your name,
like,
and we realized, that's cool, but it's I love that.
We did too.
A little less violent.
I love that. But no, sorry, you were saying that it made it. You could. I guess you were saying you could color the song.
Yeah, and within those limitations, find these new ways, and that's why the album I think sounds really different. But you can also run the risk when you're alone, and there's not a lot of feedback to just kind of start adding or refining. And there's some of that. I'm guilty of that on that record of just kind of refining and maybe taking out some of the edges, especially things that people really like about our band, which is just like, fuck it, nature sometimes. Yeah. But I'm really proud of it, and I'm really proud of the consideration that record got because of that process. It was just really fucking hard. It was and it took a long time because of all of that, and also just hours in a day I could work, and Teresa and I just kind of helping each other through the aloneness of a collaborative piece. It'd be one thing if it was my solo record or something, I could just do whatever, but you also want to make sure you're representing the whole.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
Did you ever feel, and I might be unique in this because I felt this way when I was like creating stuff right when COVID was getting ready to happen, and then COVID like became the world. I felt like I couldn't release anything. I was like, I can't put this out. Like I felt like there was like a guilt, and like in retrospect, it would have been the perfect time to give people a bunch of podcasts and a bunch of content.
What do you mean guilt?
It felt inappropriate. Like I was just like, no one wants my music podcast.
Yeah, we all need to take time.
And then it created this impossibility for me to get through, like to complete it. I was like, I can't do this. And like, it made it hard to create. And for a lot of creative people, it did the entire opposite. They were like, oh my God, I got locked in and I got to like really, really, and it wasn't like that for me. I was like, oh, I feel like the world doesn't need anything I can do right now.
It's a really easy feeling to get sucked into in general these days, right?
Fair.
You're just like, why would I do this little thing and all these huge suffering and pain? Nick Cave has a really great Red Hands. What's it called? Red Hands. I don't know. It's his newsletter.
Okay.
And he talks about people write in, and red hand letters, I think it's called.
Okay.
People write in, and some people are like, "Why the fuck would I paint?" And he's like, "Because you motherfucker." Like he just like really lays down the law that it really is the job of, you know, an artist. So I guess to transmute and represent, because that's something that connects people and represent. I mean, I can't really speak for how he says it, but I think it's a really good point that no matter what, like that creative process and that connection is always like serving the greater good.
And he's been through a tremendous amount too.
Yeah, that's true. You know, and I think for me, like in the Warpaint, your band has a community, and it's been a community that's been together. Everybody, like, there's like a subreddit and everything. Everybody like talks to each other, and I think for the most part, Warpaint has represented a lot of positivity in a lot of people's lives. It's like a band that I feel like a lot of people can escape to. You know, but a lot of the themes in there, you know, like love and of course, like, you know, overcoming, you know, difficulty and hardships. Do you feel like is there any pressure for the band to kind of like maintain like that kind of like framing for yourselves, especially as like the world has, not saying, oh, the world's getting worse and worse, but you know, like things like the COVID happened. And you get a lot of like politics in the news these days or whatever. It's like a lot harder to escape the reality of like a lot of like the problems the world's having. Does that at all play into your head at all in representing yourself as a band or having a platform or, you know, creating at all?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I think that I still wrestle with that idea because I'll see things that are so traumatizing or traumatic in the world and the news, and how do you take that feeling? And, you know, it's so interesting there aren't any real protest songs anymore, or, you know, the music of that era that people were just speaking the truth of the times on a collective, from a collective stance versus the individual stance, which is now more what we get is like more emotional. I mean, kind of what we are, but a lot of more and more they're saying like music says, lyrics say I, me more than ever. It's very about the inner individual. Guilty of that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that helps people feel seen and understood. But it is interesting how in the broader scheme of things, it's almost become cheesy or something to try to speak on larger topics or something. And so that has been something kind of strange for me is, sorry, I should have just let it go. Something for me has been, I am guilty of getting kind of overcome with emotion and handicapped to create anything, from especially being a mom now and seeing certain things in the world, and just like the mother in me is just my heart breaks, you know, for so many reasons, and I think we can all relate. But how to effectively express yourself without necessarily having to be on the nose, I still don't really quite understand, because I do think that a lot of people are still afraid to maybe totally express themselves artistically in ways that sound biased to what they believe. And I haven't even really, this is a very half-baked thought, because I don't know. I think punk, you know, I really appreciate punk and the spirit of things that say fuck you to things. And I think what happened for me is I started feeling, especially in Warpaint, like if I'm going to get up and on stage and I'm going to sing these songs every night, make sure it's something that I really want to say and feel and sing. So that kind of started to change how I wrote, because I wanted to, it's almost like an incantation, like a spell, you know? So what do you, it's like a mantra, what do you, you know, positive affirmation, or what do you want to say? What do you want to convey? What do you want to put into the energy of the people who are seeing you? That really changed once we started touring. And it became a lot more about maybe trying to transmute my pain into some kind of insight for myself, or a frame of reference shift, and something that I could sing to myself to fortify myself out of certain spaces.
I think, and to your point, and frankly to your point, you've really, I think that's you've been very successful with that, like, and have created a connection through your music to people. And I think a lot of I have a question here, but I'm speaking for some of your fans, and I think a lot of them feel like they really, really have gotten to know y'all over, these years, these albums. And what's your favorite thing about your fan base? I mean, you have such a dedicated, like, it's one of the more diehard fan bases that I follow, and it's all really nice. Everybody's really nice. It's really, it's not, there's no, like, there's no.
There's figures and that you kind of know of.
It's not like the
internal battling.
It's not like the Knocked Loose subreddit right now where everybody's fighting. But yeah, what is your favorite thing about meeting? I know you have a meet and greet you have to get to.
Yeah,
that's
about
awesome.
Meeting these people that love you. What's your favorite thing about this fan base?
I mean, I don't know about other bands. I feel like something we hear often from our fans, which is so. I mean, these meet and greets are so amazing, actually. I'm crying like every single time because people have, I don't know, it sounds to me, what I experience that's very sweet is we seem to hold them in like their darkest times. And that and actually provide support through. And one of the things that's so sweet about this 20-year anniversary is running into all of these people coming to Texas, which we haven't done in so long, and this fan base is seeing some of our fans along the way who seemed maybe very lost and struggling when they were younger, actually like doing well and having kind of moved out of their own, because you don't know if, hey, am I just kind of the soundtrack to depression through my own depression, or just like misery loves comfort, or company. But actually, I feel like there has been something in our music which is maybe always kind of hinting that there is like the light, and there is like potential, and there is a way out, and there is a way through. That journey, it seems, I feel like I see people being the embodiment of that other side as they've gotten older, along with our music, and that makes me feel really good.
I mean, I can relate. I feel like I was a kid when I told you before we started, when we slept at a bus stop to get that interview with you. We were like, we fucking gotta do it. It was not on purpose, by the way. It was a complete accident. We thought we would be able to stay in a Greyhound station, and now, like, as you said, like, I don't know, I live in a house, and I do this, it must be so cool for you to stop in every now and then on these people's lives and like take a bite out of it and see these chapter, like, just, it's almost like you're like just seeing a chapter of, these people's lives every few years when you hit these cities. Because I'm sure you're remembering some of these people and they were in a dark spot then, and your music has helped them out of it. Now you're seeing this more complete version of them that, and frankly, and I'll speak for it, that you have a big part of it with your music and having created it. So I think that's beautiful.
There's actually, I'll share with you this one. I got a letter yesterday from somebody. She used to run the Emily Kokal appreciation page back in the day. It was the MySpace days, and she was the resource for Warpaint.
Hell yeah.
And
we probably followed it.
Yeah. And she's Belgian, and she would be going through a lot. She would go through a lot. She would get mad at us. We would have this intensity. She was just an intense person. She wrote to me the other day and just said that her life from those times has just gotten so much better from that time. And sometimes it makes me happy to see people who maybe they're not quite as invested. They don't, they're not running a Warpaint MySpace anymore, and they've moved on from that kind of depth of, service to the band, and found their own place, like out living their life and in the world, and that makes me feel really good too. It seems healthy.
We are a testament to that.
You guys are.
Absolutely. I will always credit your band, your music, you personally. The utopia moment that I haven't said in years, but it has made me a confident person. And, we've got so many cool things that we're working on that I never think I'd be working on. And I think it all was kicked off in that moment of having to, walk up and be like, fuck it. And now we're here. So I want to let you go and, meet your other fans. But again, just thank you so much for providing that for us. Inadvertently, advertently, however you meant it. And I don't know if you remember one time you put us on the guest list to Depeche Mode and I couldn't make it.
I remember that.
I didn't have a car, and I was like, "I'm even on the guest list," because it's in the Woodlands, which is like not Houston.
That's right.
Yeah.
But thank you for doing that, even though I couldn't make it. I'm sorry I didn't make it. I might.
You
even,
guys always just seemed like
We're cool.
we hung out at Utopia.
Totally.
Utopia moment.
Yeah.
Utopia moments.
We need to. I hope to see you soon in whatever capacity.
Yes.
Are you coming to the show?
We'll be here.
Yes.
We will be here. Yeah,
Okay, good.
absolutely. Yeah, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was fun. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go? I want to leave the floor
I'm proud
open.
of you guys.
Oh,
Aw.
thank
I
you.
am. It's true.
That's
it's
really
so
nice.
nice to just see us all
Thriving.
growing up. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do it again.
I feel good. We'll do
And-
it
It's
again.
not 10 years
And
ago.
actually, like, I hope this is not a sad note, but anybody who isn't thriving and like has been into our music and just I send everybody who's ever really followed us and supported us lots of love and a lot of appreciation.
I think it's a perfect note to leave this on.
Right on.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.